Close your eyes. Not to escape the world, but to steady it. Take a breath. Before we speak of God, reason, and truth, tell me something. When you hear the word faith, do you imagine belief without thinking? Or thinking taken to its edge? Hold that question. Because Thomas Aquinas lived inside that tension. Thomas Aquinas was born in 1225. A time when Europe was ruled not by curiosity, but by certainty. The Church held truth. Kings enforced it. Universities repeated it. And doubt was treated like a disease. Into this world came a quiet mind. Not a rebel. Not a satirist. Not a man of fire. But a man of structure. Order. Patience. Aquinas was born into nobility. His family wanted power for him. A bishop's seat. A comfortable life. Instead, he chose the Dominican order. A life of poverty. Study. Silence. His family locked him in a castle. To stop him, they tried temptation. They tried threats. They even tried scandal. He stayed still. Not stubborn. Certain. Certain that truth was worth surrendering status for. Thomas Aquinas was not dramatic. He did not shout. He built. Slowly. Carefully. Sentence by sentence. And what he built would shape Western thought for centuries. At the heart of Aquinas' philosophy is a radical idea that faith and reason are not enemies, that God is not threatened by questions, and that truth cannot contradict itself. In Aquinas' time, Aristotle had returned to Europe, a pagan philosopher, a thinker of logic, causes, and observation. Many Christians feared Aristotle. They thought reason would dissolve faith. Aquinas thought the opposite. He believed reason was a gift from God, and to refuse to use it was not humility. It was negligence. For Aquinas, there were two paths to truth: revelation and reason. Revelation tells us what reason cannot reach. Reason tells us how the world works. And when properly understood, they never conflict. This idea was dangerous, because it meant belief had to be defended, not enforced. It meant authority needed explanation, not just obedience. Aquinas believed the universe was intelligible, that things exist for reasons, that causes matter. Nothing was random, nothing meaningless. Even suffering had to be examined, not simply excused. He believed truth was not invented by humans. It was discovered, like geometry, like music, like law. And this led him to his most famous argument: the 5 ways. Not proofs in the modern sense, but paths, ways of reasoning toward God. The first way: motion. Things move. Movement requires a cause. An infinite chain explains nothing. There must be a first mover. Unmoved. Pure actuality. Not pushed. Not dependent. This is what we call God. The second way. Causation. Nothing causes itself. Effects require causes. Again. An infinite regression. Explains nothing. There must be a first cause. Not caused. Holding everything else in existence. The third way. Contingency. Things exist. But they don't have to. They come and go. If everything were contingent, there could have been nothing. And from nothing, nothing comes. So there must be a necessary being. One that cannot not exist. The fourth way. Degrees. We recognize better and worse. Truth. Goodness. Beauty. These imply a maximum. A standard. A source. Something fully actual. Fully good. Fully true. The fifth way. Order. Purpose. Non-intelligent things. Act toward ends. Like arrows flying toward targets. This suggests guidance. Intelligence. Direction. These arguments are calm. Not emotional. Not coercive. They do not demand belief. They invite reflection. But Aquinas did not stop at God. He asked, if God exists, how should humans live? Aquinas believed morality was grounded in nature. Not arbitrary commands, but purpose. Everything has a function. Eyes are for seeing. Roots are for nourishing. Minds are for knowing. Human nature, according to Aquinas, has a direction. Toward truth. Toward goodness. Toward flourishing. This is natural law. Not written on stone, but woven into reality. To act morally is to act in accordance with what we are. To act immorally is to violate our own design. This means morality is not just what God says. It is what allows humans to become fully human. Aquinas believed happiness was the ultimate goal. Not pleasure. Not power. But fulfillment. A life aligned with reason. A life ordered toward truth. But earthly happiness was incomplete. Because humans desire infinity. Truth without limit. Goodness without decay. And finite things cannot satisfy infinite longing. This longing, Aquinas believed, points beyond the world. Toward God. Not as an escape, but as completion. For Aquinas, God was not emotion. Not a feeling. Not a projection. God was being itself. The reason anything exists at all. Not one being among others, but existence as such. This made Aquinas God remarkably impersonal and profoundly intimate. God closer to you than you are to yourself. Because without God, you would not be. Aquinas also believed evil was not a thing, not a substance, but a privation, a lack of good. Like darkness is the absence of light. Evil does not exist on its own. It feeds on good, corrupts it, distorts it. This reframes suffering. God does not create evil. God permits freedom. And freedom carries risk. Aquinas did not offer simple comfort. He offered coherence. A worldview. That could survive questioning. But Aquinas was not cold. He wrote prayers. He wept. He believed love completed knowledge. That intellect alone was not enough. Near the end of his life, after years of writing, thousands of pages, Aquinas had a mystical experience. And afterward, he said, "All that I have written seems like straw. Not because it was false, but because truth exceeds language." Thomas Aquinas died in 1274. Quietly. Without fame. But his ideas lived on. Shaping theology, philosophy, law, ethics, even modern debates about reason and belief still orbit his work. So what does Aquinas ask of you? Not blind belief. Not rejection of faith. But courage. The courage to think deeply. To examine belief. Without fear. To trust that truth can withstand scrutiny. Aquinas believed, if something is true, it will survive questions. And if it does not, then it was never truth. Before we end, ask yourself, do you see reason as a threat to belief, or as its ally? And what parts of your faith, or skepticism, have never been examined carefully? Thomas Aquinas does not demand agreement. He demands seriousness, patience, honesty. If this kind of slow thinking helps you breathe, if it gives your mind room to stretch, then stay here. Subscribe. Not for certainty, but for depth. Because shallow answers cannot hold heavy questions. Open your eyes. The world is still uncertain, but you are better equipped to meet it calmly, reasonably, fully awake.